Good morning and welcome. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. I am glad you are here. And of course, today we are continuing with part 2 of the wedding portrait. Yes, I know. Got lots of communication, people dying to know what happens with in the book, find out exactly what's going on. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you will enjoy your time with us. But yes, also this book is just so timely and yes, so thank you so much for joining in, and I hope we're able to join to continue with our story. Seems like our connection is a little bit glitchy, but hopefully that passes. Yes, good morning to you and welcome. Thank you so much for joining in as always. Please do try reconnecting again and join story time, and be sure to find story time right here 10:30 Pacific time every weekday on Facebook, and also join us on YouTube and as much. Good morning to you. All right, welcome everybody. Good morning to you, Harmony Beth. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for getting in touch, and of course for joining us on Storytime one more time. Good morning to you. Ingrid and Anders, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning. Good morning to you. Yes, thank you so much. White Sun Chavula, how are you so much for joining us? How are you doing? Good morning to you, Absa. Thank you. Yes, I hope you're ready for today's story. I am doing very well. Thank you so much for joining in. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you everybody for coming in and joining in. Yes, started off just a minute or two early so people could get settled and get ready for the wedding portrait part 2. Yes, good morning to you. How are you doing today? I am glad you are here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning to you, Rachel Reed Mudenda. How are you doing out in El Paso, Texas? How are you today? Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you. And good morning, Jackson. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us. Yes. Good morning, good morning. Welcome. And we are getting ready for the wedding portrait part 2. Yes. Good morning to you, Ellen Edwards in Chicago. How are you doing today? So glad you are here. Thank you for joining us. And good morning to you, JJ and Frankie. And you're joining in with Nicole Flynn. Thank you so much for joining us. And how are you? Good to know that you are with us. Thank you so much. Yes, let's get settled. Get in, and yes, enjoy the story. Thank you. Good morning to you, Lacey, and good morning to you, Veronica. How are you doing today? Vula, you are joining in today with Mono, Lee, Natasha, and Violet in Lusaka. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you. Thank you for the love. Yes. How is everybody doing? Good morning to you, Olive Oil. Thank you. I am glad you are here with us. Jack in Portland, how are you doing? Oh my, it's been a long time. I hope you're enjoying the break. I hope you are on break, Jack. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, good morning to you. Penelope Evanson, how are you doing? Olive Oil in Oakland, one more time. How are you doing? Thank you so much for being here. Yes. I hope you're the wedding portrait by Innosanto Nagara, and we are reading the second part of it today. Good morning to you, Maya, and good morning to you, Raven. How are you doing? Glad you are here. And good morning to you, Kathleen. Thank you so much for joining us. Isabella, Luis, and Leslie, how are you today? And of course, good morning to you, Danny. Thank you so much for joining us. Sheba Chanda, how are you doing? Yes, joining. So much for joining in. Good morning to you. And yes, good morning one more time, Maya and Raven. Thank you. Yes, we are getting ready for the wedding portrait by Innosanto Nagara. I am excited. Yesterday we learned so much. We learned about the sit-in, we learned about boycotts, and let's see what else we will learn about today. Thank you so much for joining in, and I hope everybody is having a lovely Thursday where you are. Yes, the week, I hope it was a good one, and looking forward to an even better weekend. Yes, good morning to you. Kat Saxton, how are you doing? Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining in. Good morning to you, Harry. And of course, good morning to you, Chris Wheeler. Yes, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you are having a lovely day, a lovely morning. Yes, and hopefully see you soon. Rocco and Clay joining in LBC. How are you doing? Thanks so much for joining us. Yes, welcome everybody. Good morning, good morning. Joyce Silungwe, how are you doing today? Yes, good to see you with us. Thank you so much. Please let us know where you're joining in from and who is joining in with you. Vunduka, thank you so much for joining in. Good to see you here. And Noctula, how are you doing? And of course, good morning to you, Julia. Hopefully you're having yourselves a lovely time out there in Baltimore. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, we're going to get started in a minute with our book today, The Wedding Portrait. Yes. Chanda, thank you so much. And you say you're joining in with Benjamin. Yes, thank you so much for letting us know. I hope you have a wonderful time with us. Yes, good morning to you. Or is it good evening on that side? Hopefully you are well. Thank you so much. All right, so we are going to get started with The Wedding Portrait by Innosanto Nagara. And let's find out what happens, what that is all about. So yesterday we ended off with talking about all the different things, the boycott, the sit-in, and now we're going to find out what is up with that wedding portrait. Why? Let's find out. Yes. Good morning. All right. Paragraph just so we can get ourselves reacquainted with the story. Now, I will bet all this is giving you some ideas, isn't it? Do you think some of the things that you do when you're not following the rules should be considered civil disobedience? Do you think hiding under the bed to avoid a bath is refusing to eat your dinner a kind of boycott? Maybe, maybe not. But I was supposed to be telling you about the wedding portrait. So here we go. It all started because Mama and I don't like nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are huge, terrible, expensive bombs that are so deadly they can blow up a whole city. It blows up the city, it leaves poisonous radiation everywhere that makes people sick. Nuclear bombs had only been used in one war, long before you were born. Dropped 2 nuclear bombs, one on the city of Hiroshima and one on the city of Nagasaki in Japan. These were cities full of regular people, and many people died. And because of radiation, even more people got sick. Then other countries wanted to have nuclear bombs. They figured if their neighbors had one, and they did it, this became known as the arms race. Countries were racing to see who could make the most nuclear weapons the fastest. But regular people like us understood that if everyone had big deadly bombs and war did start, then everyone would get bombed. And it would be terrible and sad, and there would be no happy ending. Don't like what they said, and they hit you back harder, and then you hit them back even harder. Nothing gets better. Everyone gets hurt. And when you do it with the nuclear bombs, everyone dies. Who wants that? Against nuclear bombs. Anti-nuclear activists would go to places where the military was testing its new weapons and try to get in the way so they couldn't do their tests. This is called a sit-in. Native American communities like the Western Shoshone people led these protests because it was their land, these nuclear tests. Many others came in solidarity. Yes. Meanwhile, Mama and I had decided that we wanted to get married. We had been living together for many years. We were friends to join us in celebrating our love. We thought it was important that we use the occasion to celebrate the values that brought us together. We had first met on a bus going to protest, so we decided to take our wedding. People get all dressed up to look nice for their wedding. I was in a suit, and Mama was in a beautiful white wedding dress. All our friends who were part of the ceremony were all of us marched together to a lab where the government made new weapons and stood in front of the gates. We were blocking the gates, so the guards came and told us we had to move. Instead, we knelt down, and just like in a regular wedding, we kissed, and everyone in the audience clapped. Even some of the guards had to smile. They still wanted us to stop blocking the gates though, so they gave us a final warning. If you don't move right away, we will arrest you. Do you think we moved? No, we refused to move, and they arrested us. About 100 people refused to move that day. We had to sit. It was like a super long time. Mama's wedding dress was all dusty and dirty. But a reporter took a photo of us and published it in the newspaper. We learned about what the government was doing. Our friends thought that this was the best wedding photo ever. So, as a gift, they framed it and we hung it on our wall. And guess what? That is the story of the wedding portrait. The end. But before we end, I also want to epilogue that Innosanto Nagara writes, and it's just such an important message that I thought I should share with everybody out there. And it goes like this. That one photo did not get rid of the nuclear weapons problem, but it did help more people learn about what was going on. And those people came out and protested too. But there are still a lot of nuclear weapons, and there are still laws that are racist, and there are still oil companies that are trying to drill oil and build pipelines on indigenous people's lands. There are problems that we continue to work on today. My story is about taking action, but it is also about working together. Things can only get better if one person can make a difference. But it's not usually just one thing that one person does that changes things. Not everyone can break the rules and risk getting arrested. Not everyone who takes action gets noticed. The stories I've told you here, the story would take books and books and books to tell. The whole story would tell about the people who did civil disobedience, but it would also tell you about the people who wrote letters, marched, knocked on doors, taught others, created art and music, and did a million other things toward change. Also, making the world a better place isn't just about stopping the It's about showing better ways of doing things. It's going to take all of us. Yes. Thank you so much, Innosanto Nagara, and everybody else that is joining us today. Thank you so much. That is such a powerful book and a powerful message. Yes, everything that we're fighting against the injustice, it will take all of us. It needs everyone, kids, adults. Let us all work together in making this place a better place. For joining Storytime today, and we're just going to see who else has joined us this morning. Yes, and I do apologize for the so much for joining in. I really appreciate it. And of course, remember that Storytime will be back tomorrow for our final reading of the week, and we will be looking at There Is No Place I'd Rather Tomorrow. But thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, thank you so much. And good morning to you one more time, Sheba Chanda. Good morning to you, Kathleen. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good morning to you, Rhoda. How are you doing? Thank you, Rhoda Rowe. How are you? Yes, good. Thank you so much for joining in today. And good morning to you, Damien. How are you? Yes, good to see you with us. Thank you so much for joining Storytime today. And from me, of course, it is much love. And we'll be back tomorrow and hopefully with a better network. Do join us tomorrow for There Is No Place I Would Rather Be. And this one is written by Demetrius Scott. Join us for that one. Thank you so much, Innosanto Nagara, for a wonderful book today and a wonderful story. So yes, I will see you again tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.